What's going on, everybody? Jackson Fuller here with the Star News, and I'm happy to be joined by Laney Athletic Director Fred Lynch. Fred is the current Laney Athletic Director, a one-time Laney High School men's basketball coach, and of course, why we have him on today, he was an assistant when Michael Jordan played for the Laney Buccaneers. And Fred, I know we've all been watching the Last Dance over the past 5 weeks. It's been a welcome addition to our lives during quarantine. First off, what was your favorite part of the documentary that kind of swept all of the culture here in America the past 5 weeks?
I don't know if that was a favorite part, but I think one of the things that stood out was the, as they called it at that time, the flu game. Just watching how that went down, and having watching it when it was live, it was, that was pretty good.
Yeah. What's something from? And I know the people at Laney and the people at North Carolina, they might know Michael better than anyone, but what's something from this documentary series that maybe you didn't even know that was news to you, if there's one thing that you can point to that you learned from the ESPN's production?
Well, I think the one thing that came out of it was the treatment of his teammates. I mean, I knew he was tough on them, but not as much as it portrayed in the documentary. That I knew he pushed them very, very hard, but that was a little bit different.
Yeah, I'll say the one thing that I learned, and maybe you can speak to this, is I kind of knew how tough he was on his teammates, and I thought maybe that made him not as coachable as some of the other, as a role player might be, but that certainly wasn't true. I mean, you could see from his respect for Dean and for Phil and for Doug Collins, he was an extremely coachable athlete. Was he like that when he was at Laney as well?
Oh, most definitely. Especially at that time, he wasn't the star, even though he was our best player. But Coach Herring and the other assistant coaches, that he was very coachable. He listened. He did the things that he had to do for his team. And he knew also that he had to score some points also to make us a really good team. So that he knew he had to do. But he was always coachable. I mean, even if you saw him in college, it was the same way.
What was it like getting interviewed by ESPN for you and Coach Conleys? How long were they there? How long did the interview last? And what all did they kind of do at Laney High School?
Oh gosh, that's been a while. I think they did that about maybe a year and a half ago. It was interesting. Because for me and for Coach Conleys, it seemed like every time something happens with Mike, we're the only two old guys still around. So we get interviewed quite a bit. Like most of those, they'll come in and interview for, I imagine the interview probably took 30 minutes or so. And you don't know if it's either going to be shown or if you get a little 2-minute or 2-second clip. So, but it was still fun to do.
One thing that you and Coach Conleys both said in your screen time with The Last Dance was, really the biggest improvement from Mike was going into his junior year, just a growth spurt.
Right.
Was it something where you guys could always see with him, like, hey, if he was a few inches taller, he had the goods to become a great player? What else was it other than just growing 3-4 inches in that year that really kind of made him develop into a guy that could go to North Carolina and play as a freshman?
Well, as we talked about, he really had good guard skills because of his size, and he played guard, and he learned to do all those things. He could handle the basketball, and he could always score. The difference was, I just felt like was his size that made the difference. That you can be 6 feet and have all those skills and not be able to play at that different level or higher level. Mm-hmm. So getting the size and the competition that he played against, going to 5-star camp and playing against the best of the best and really showing how good he really was. And of course, when he came back his senior year, he had all the confidence in the world because he knew that he was as good or better than most players.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised at all how open he was in this documentary? I mean, I got to say, he's somewhat been a reserved guy since he's retired from the NBA a little bit. And even in the NBA, he was a superstar, but he still wasn't as open as maybe he was during these 10 episodes with ESPN.
I was shocked that he gave the information that he did. He has been, pretty reserved, pretty private about his life and a lot of the personal things that happened with him while he was in the NBA. So yeah, that was a little bit surprising, but I guess that was one of the part of the deal in agreeing to do the documentary, that he would have to reveal some things and would have to open about some things that only he and his teammates and his family knew about.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I really appreciated was him getting emotional, almost talking about his mindset playing basketball. I mean, he called himself a tyrant, and he had to say, break, I need to take a minute. And you mentioned that that was something that you learned, just his interaction with his teammates. Was there any part of that you could see from, it was a surprise to you, but was there any part of that bubbling up while he was at Laney, that hugely competitive and almost a bad teammate, teetering on that line, but really all about winning while he was at Laney?
Yeah, he was never a bad teammate at Laney, but he was all about winning. Whether it was playing basketball, when he was playing baseball, he was always all about trying to win. And I always talked about him and picked him about being a sore loser. And part of being a sore loser, I guess, is you're gonna do whatever it takes to try and win. And you saw that throughout the documentary, that this is what it was about. He was about trying to win, trying to push his teammates, trying to prove that he that he was the best, and that was his goal even in high school. So by the time he got to Carolina, we felt like that that he would go to Carolina and do really, really well, because he could compete.
You can only be there's only such a level of a bad teammate you can be after winning 6 NBA championships. So I think in the end of the day, his teammates are probably happy with him pushing them and the levels that he went of trying to motivate the guys on his team. Was he did he have those leadership qualities at a young age as well, or was because I don't remember ever really talking to you or even Coley about whether he was obviously the best player, but was he kind of the senior captain or even a captain for you guys as a junior year?
No, not so much as that type of leadership. Thinking back, like I said, it's been a while ago. But him being the captain of the team, he pretty much just did his job. Coach Herring gave him a lot of responsibility, and he went with that. But as far as trying to control the team, that didn't really happen.
Gotcha. So, do you think then this is a question maybe we could ask anyone, doesn't have to be a former head coach or a former coach, but do you think his tough love mindset works today if he was a high school athlete or a college athlete or a pro athlete today? I know times have certainly changed since the late 90s and early 90s.
I think in at the NBA level, I think it would still work. I mean, if you watch some of the interactions with with LeBron and when Kobe was playing, and some of the other guys who were leading their teams now, there's some not nice things being said to teammates to get them to do what they have to do in order to compete. At the high school level, college level, no. And with today's young athletes, it wouldn't work. I think it would be more detrimental to the team than aiding the team. But at the pro level, I mean, they're grown men, they're professional athletes. I mean, they've heard all the dirty words before, so so I don't think it'll make any difference with them.
Yeah. Here's a weird question for you. Did he always love golf? I mean, God, I feel like every episode he's talking about he's got daylight time to go get some strokes in, some shots in. Did he always love golf, or was that something he didn't develop till he was kind of out of Wilmington?
To my knowledge, he never touched a club until he got to Carolina. I think that was something that Buzz introduced him to. Buzz Peterson introduced him to golf, and he kind of developed that love. Later on, I think golf served more as a getaway from basketball, and I think that's where he developed that love, and that's what he wanted to do, because you're on the golf course, nobody bothers you. You're to yourself, and it's just you competing against against the course.
Yeah. What was Wilmington and Laney like, for people that weren't really, I wasn't around here at all during his heyday. I mean, were everybody Bulls fans? What were the halls at Laney like during that last season? I mean, was there talk about, hey, our guy's doing it again? I mean, just how much excitement was there in the city when he was at the peak of his powers?
It varied. I mean, obviously there were a ton of Bulls fans at the time, but as far as the city, I don't know if the city was all crazy about the Bulls, but because everybody at Laney, coaches like myself and Coach Herring, Coach Coley, we were fortunate that at that time WGN aired every Bulls game. So I don't know if we missed one, but that was a fun part that we got an opportunity to see him play every night, and made us even more of a fan for Mike and the Bulls.
Okay.
And and watching that great run, it was a lot of fun. And watching the documentary, you go back and you see all those games that you kind of forgotten a little bit of things that happened there. It was, it was okay.
Yeah. It's definitely something. I know Laney absolutely takes pride in Michael Jordan. He said it himself at the very last scene of the documentary. He's from Wilmington, North Carolina, and I know there's sometimes talk about him distancing himself from the city, but I think you could really tell throughout this documentary and from when I've talked to you and Coach Conleys that he might not show it very much, but he does have that sense of pride of where he's from and happy that he went to Laney High School and grew up here in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, he always has. Unfortunately, he gets a bad rep in some situations because a lot of things that he does in Wilmington, that he does for Laney High School, he doesn't broadcast it. He doesn't seek publicity from it, and so a lot of people say, well, he doesn't do anything for Wilmington, he doesn't do anything for Laney High School, but we know that he does, and that's okay. And he said the same thing. Yeah, he still has pride in coming from Wilmington and obviously from Laney High School because of the things that he's done for us. But it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody. And why should you seek publicity? You do what you do because you love your city or you love your school, and that's what it's about.
Exactly. All right, Coach Lynch, to close this out, I kind of want us both to share our greatest memories of Michael Jordan, not only from this documentary, just in general. I'll go first, and you can kind of think about it while I'm talking. But I've got to say, my very first memory as a sports fan that I can say, yes, that actually happened, was watching what happened last night and watching the 1998 finals with my dad. And so it's a cliche answer, but him making that jump shot over Byron Russell is the moment where I realized just how much joy sports can bring me, because my dad was a huge Michael Jordan fan. My mom was a Michael Jordan fan, and just watching the entire finals with them, when I look back on my life, I don't think there's a moment before that where I'm thinking of, or I remember anything sports related. So that's my favorite memory. Coach Lynch, what's your favorite memory of Michael? It can be anything from his time with the Bulls, Carolina, or even at Laney.
With the Bulls, my favorite was the shot over Craig Elo against Cleveland. Because up until then they had never really gotten over the hump and trying to get to the championship rounds. And I think that was it for me, was when he hit that shot, and that was the moment.
Awesome, Fred. Well, I appreciate it so much for you joining me, man. Hope you are doing safe, sane, healthy things during COVID-19. Hopefully I get to see you at a Laney Buccaneer sporting event sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it was fun to watch The Last Dance by myself. Glad I got to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Jackson. You be safe too.